Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we're going to talk about what happens afterwards, after a massive break-in or ransacking of your local business when you're in a city like the city of San Francisco, because it turns out, and this may be surprising to some of you, that the police, the city, the people who are supposed to be on the side of the business, of the law-abiding citizen, are anything but. They've decided that the protocol post you being victimized is for you to be fined because you didn't clean up the damage fast enough after your victimization. Now, as for the criminals, nothing they can do about it. We can't really deal with that situation, despite the fact that the criminals in this specific case should have made it unbelievably and undeniably easy for them to be caught and identified. The city is completely powerless to punish them, but they can punish you. It's like that Simpsons thing where they're like, the law is powerless to help you, but the law isn't powerless to punish you. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, thank you to everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Family-owned convenience store in San Francisco's Richmond district is picking up the pieces once again after at least 9 thieves broke in and stole thousands of dollars worth of cigarettes. So the owner tells our Kevin Coe this is the 4th break-in at his store, and it could be the last straw.
So right off the top, you hear about the plight of this small business owner. Small business owner, he ends up suffering from a break-in, at least 9 suspects in a flash mob style robbery. In this particular instance, they decide that they're going to target tobacco because of tobacco taxes, high resale value, and all of that. But during the process of this, as you can see through the B-roll that they're running, they ended up obliterating parts, if not all, of the store. So the store owner has decided that now that this is the 4th time that this has happened, that maybe it's time to pack up and leave the Bay Area. But to be clear, it's not necessarily just the criminality that is driving this person away. It is, in fact, issues with the city who have decided that the responsible party for this is not the criminal, not those 9 people who destroyed the store. It is, in fact, the business owner because he didn't clean up the store fast enough. They want to fine him, punish him for being victimized by a crime. This is what we're dealing with in major metropolitan areas. This is what the residents of San Francisco are dealing with. And while I know people are going to say they did vote for this, and yes, they did vote for a lot of left-wing policies, to be clear, they thought that they would produce some level of change after they voted out woke, not going to prosecute anyone for anything, District Attorney Chesa Boudin. But guess what? State laws are still what they are. The city council still is what it is. So this is the level of suffering that the people trying to make an honest buck in San Francisco end up having to deal with.
Another repair for the front doors of Cigarettes Cheaper, a sight becoming so common for the corner store that the owner, Bashir, didn't even want to show his face on camera.
So first of all, it is very notable the amount of damage that these criminals can do to the property, to the business owner, just in order to break in to steal what they want. Obviously, these people did not care about minimizing consequences for the business owner. They essentially went to maximize them, and that's why there's actually no door left. They obliterated it so badly, it needs to be completely replaced. So now they have to operate with that knowledge. They have to deal with this in this major metropolitan area where it's already extraordinarily expensive to operate a business. And what's even sadder to me is that the business owner, the sympathetic figure in this particular instance, doesn't even want to show his face on camera for fear of retaliation, because guess what? Those criminals are still out there, and this person daring to even speak of the crime that was inflicted upon him could lead to consequences for him and the members of his family that work in tandem with this business.
My family, my friends, everybody sees me once again. Oh, wow, again it happened. Because I've been here so many times. I get it once or twice, but it's continued this happening.
Bashir says he got a call just after 3 this morning from his security company, alerting him that a white Lexus smashed through his store's front door.
I mean, again, just look at that image right there. The door frame is completely knocked off of where it's supposed to be, and I am amused by the idea that he ended up getting a call at around 3 in the morning from the security firm that he had to contract out in order to protect his business after the previous break-ins, and all they can really do is tell him him that someone is breaking into his property. I mean, honestly, he might as well just install an alarm, put up a sign right there, have that go off so he has time, place, and manner for when his place gets broken into, because he has a security firm that apparently doesn't provide any security. Now, granted, it's likely because he can't afford to pay enough for round-the-clock security. You know, that gets expensive. Obviously, this is a small business, and, you know, there's so much demand in the city of San Francisco that other places would want to have it if it was remotely affordable. So this is the best that he could do, getting this notification, but that is just another cost of doing business in the city of San Francisco that he is no longer willing to pay, or at least that's how it seems in this particular segment.
At least 8 to 9 suspects jumped out all maxed up, came inside and just ransacked the whole place.
Bashir took these photos and videos of the mess left behind. Thousands of dollars of cigarettes stolen. But total costs are in the tens of thousands because of all of the damage to the store.
Everything's barred up. Like, this is not how we look like we're in jail. There's no insurance. State Farm has completely kicked us out because they call state of California as a hotspot. I don't blame them, because they're in here for business, not to just continue to give you money.
So right there, we address another talking point that I wasn't expecting to be addressed by this local news segment, but essentially, this is one of the very many small businesses that don't have insurance in this country that have to deal with the consequences of this. Now, the reason I bring this up is because during the Black Lives Matter riots, when you saw untold destruction of storefronts, of businesses, of major metropolitan areas, people always said, insurance is going to pay for it. Magic money from the insurance company would cover it, and it turns out this is a small business that was in fact operating with insurance prior to this, but they ended up getting kicked out because State Farm could no longer insure this particular area after the previous break-ins, because when you file claims, there are consequences for that, and guess what? They ended up with no insurance, and then an even more destructive style of robbery where they drove possibly and very likely a stolen car into the doorfront because they already put up the bars and all the windows and whatnot to keep people out. But guess what? None of that stands up to a Lexus barreling into your store and causing the maximum amount of damage.
We were here back in June, reporting on an even costlier theft. Thieves left with $80,000 worth of cigarettes and a safe with $20,000 inside.
If we cover that, where they're going to come from, the ceiling next?
So what's crazy about this is, of course, this isn't the first time that they've been victimized. It's not even the first time that they've been a subject of a local news segment. Back in June of 2023, they suffered this $80,000 theft, and this is why they hired the security company. By the way, this is why their insurance dropped them. And in that particular instance, they lost $80K in product, but then they lost, on top of that, $20K in cash stored in a safe. Now, obviously, you shouldn't be storing cash on the premises, but in a modern civilized society, you shouldn't have to worry about these massive break-ins.
That's why Bashir says this may be the final straw for the family-owned store that's been here since 2003.
Now, like I said, the brazen burglaries at this specific location are one thing. And by the way, in terms of policy, that would normally be enough for me to cover a story like this, because as we've discussed on this channel in one of my absolute favorite videos where we covered the snake burglar who was convicted of 70 plus commercial burglaries in the state of California, but he could not be sentenced to prison time because they were closing the prisons and ended up sending these people that they classified as non-violent felons to county jail, and there was no room there. Obviously, if they captured these people, there would be no consequences. So on its own, that's enough of a policy failure for me to address. But the thing is, it gets worse, because it always gets worse, because the city of San Francisco has decided that they're going to hold somebody accountable for this, and the person or persons that they want to hold accountable are the victims. They actually received a notice of violation warning them that they would be subject to fines if they didn't put up the money and fix this area that again is uninsurable due to rampant criminality, because how dare you be victimized by criminals and end up having a mess based on what the criminals did.
Bashir also got this violation notice from the city after the break-in, telling him he has 90 days to fix the damage.
You know, I think we're at the verge to just completely close our shops, because the profit is not that great. All we're trying to do is trying to maintain. Everything's expensive. Rent is up, employees are high, and then on top of it, deal with this.
Isn't that wild? 90 days to fix the damage, otherwise you're going to face fines and fees and whatnot, because again, the building was damaged by this robbery that the city of San Francisco and the state of California completely have abdicated their duty in terms of trying to stop it. Therefore, you're responsible for it, so put up the money to fix it, you absolute idiot. Thank you for doing business in the city of San Francisco, you sucker, because we're going to treat you like the criminal, we're going to treat you like the problem, because honestly, the left-wing people in the legislature, the people who identify as socialists, they love the thieves, that they think that they're Aladdin, stealing to feed their starving family, and they hate, absolutely despise the people who try to follow the law, who try to do good, the goose that lays the golden egg that allows them to run all their insane government programs. They can't stand them, so again, pay your fine for your break-in, you absolute doofus.
Bashir says he puts what happened at his store earlier this morning squarely on the shoulders of city leaders. He's calling on them to hold criminals more accountable. But that's also what a store manager told us last year when this same thing happened to them last June. That's why Bashir says he is now considering just moving out of the Bay Area completely.
Now, that ending point of the local news segment is insanely sad. The fact is that the store manager last year ended up reiterating the same information, that city leadership should be held accountable for this. They're not protecting their citizens. And we're here 1 year later repeating the same exact cycle with another break-in. And the city has decided that the only people that they're going to hold accountable is the victims, because while we're not going to do anything about the criminals ever, how dare you get victimized by criminals in the city of San Francisco? Pay your fine, pay your additional tax on being a victim. Now, this segment on YouTube cuts off right here, which is rather unfortunate because there's an additional portion to the segment that I have to play for you, which is what ended up happening to the criminals, because the police in this particular instance said that they did chase them, vehicle to vehicle chase. They were going after them. They were in hot pursuit, but guess what? They ended up getting away after they crashed their vehicle into a police car, and somehow the police were incapable of detaining any of these 9 individuals, any of these criminals who crashed the car twice, once during the robbery, once during the escape. They just got away. So no arrests in this particular case, despite the fact that their vehicle was immobilized. They smashed into a police car, and they should have been able to capture them incredibly easily. But again, this is what you expect from the city of San Francisco. They have defunded their police, dropped the good officers from their rank, because why would you be a cop in San Francisco if you had a choice? And now we're in situations where the criminals are able to escape without consequences, quite literally.
So police did tell Kevin they did try and chase the suspects as they drove away from the store, but they got away after crashing into a marked police car. Officers later found one of the cars abandoned nearby with possible stolen merchandise inside of it.
And the victims have to pay a tax for being victimized by these crimes. It's absolutely absurd. It's insane. But you know what? It's San Francisco. What do you expect? Now, obviously, I hope that this guy finds success somewhere else. I hope that he does end up leaving the city of San Francisco, because when they've decided that they're not going to have your back and every business's back to the extreme, to the point where nobody on the block can get insurance, that's really your only option. Otherwise, you subject yourself to being so vulnerable to losses that you're in situations like this. And San Francisco doesn't deserve these businesses. And by the way, people often ask me, how does crime cause poverty, Sean? How are criminals creating the poverty? And how are you going to say that they're not innocent angel Aladdins victimized by poverty? Well, this is a perfect example of this. Small business owner was profitable, even if it was marginally in this particular area. They had a family. Guess what? This crime inflicts extraordinary economic harm on them, and they're at the point where they're going to shut down. That could negatively impact this particular family. It ends up leading to another abandoned storefront in this particular area, which reduces foot traffic. All the other places are being victimized. They're going to close down. The landlord who has to rent these places isn't going to make any money. There's devastating economic impact beyond the tens of thousands of dollars of each of these individual crimes, and the proof in the pudding is in the taste. But unfortunately, Alexis slammed into that damn place, smashed up all the pudding, and now the city of San Francisco is fining the pudding makers for daring to offer any goods or services. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all the social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the insanity of San Francisco. Till next time.